Cool. Jeff, you got your speaker?
Old school it is.
Old school it is.
Do you have your speaker? Yeah.
Do I
Wow.
have my speaker?
I mean, it's not an unfair question.
All right, well, hint to the
Facts.
audience, we're trying new things next week. Welcome to Everyone Racers, a show designed for the world of low-dollar racing and oddball car culture. It doesn't matter what kind of Lemma Champ or Lucky Track Dog League you run, SCC or NASA, we won't discriminate, as long as you drive it hard and built it yourself. Join us each week for tech discussion, tips, tricks, news and notes in the world of amateur endurance racing, and whether it's on the spot, hella sweet, and we're lucky enough, and Chrissy gives us just the tip, we're sure you'll giggle a little and learn even less. Everyone report to the paddock.
This is Chris.
This is Chrissy.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm mental.
And we are Everyone Racers. Welcome to a Mt St Helens episode of our podcast. On this day, 42 years ago, we're recording on Wednesday, May 18th, in 1980, Mt St Helens, a volcanic peak in southwestern Washington, suffered a massive eruption, killing 57 people and devastating 210 square miles of wilderness. Mt St Helens volcanic cone was completely blasted away and replaced by a horseshoe-shaped crater. It produced 5 smaller explosive eruptions during the summer and fall of 1980, and it remains active today. 2 years later, after it exploded the first time, it became a protected research area. So you want to have a safe but real blast, grab an E1R bingo card. Can't even take credit for the last line on there. It's so cute. What you working on? Let's talk about mental, because I know what the other two were working on.
Wait a second. So, Mental, you wrote that, right? The Mount St.
Yes.
Helens thing?
Yes.
And we decided the only one here who's probably not old enough to remember that.
She
Yes.
was the only one that wasn't born then. I don't really remember it. I was
Oh,
one.
I'm old.
I
Shit.
actually remember seeing it on the news. I do. So,
I remember people buying little vials of ash.
Oh, cool.
I
Anyway.
remember hearing about hot rodders in Montana because they would all just take their air cleaners off and then they were sucking in volcanic ash and ultimately lining their cylinders with what would turn out to be glass and ruining their engines.
That seems like a terrible
Mm.
idea.
It is.
Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead, Chrissy. Ask Mental again.
Mental, what you working on?
So we spoke last week. I'm getting on my fitness and I have like ruptured a tendon. I have not been able to walk for the last couple of days
Oh,
properly.
no.
The opening conversation with everyone is, why are you limping? And today, even a couple times, it actually got like the pain was so acute, it was starting to make me nauseous. So I'm going to have to find
Wow.
out new fitness stuff. I've got like ice packs. I'm wearing an ankle brace on there, but it's right there at the base of my heel. The tendon is swollen and it feels like it's trying to just pull up there. Chris is pointing at himself because that is a similar injury. And Chrissy, you had something on that.
I was going to
You're-
say a place that you should work out is probably your pool. That might be a good thing.
Yeah, last year I bought like an elastic belt that hooks to like giant surgical tubing so I can swim in place. So,
Yeah.
I should try and do that.
Yep.
And after it gets
impact.
a little bit better, cycling is a nice lower impact exercise on that,
Yeah.
on that Achilles.
The
Which,
old
yeah.
ladies at the pool where I go swimming have these foam barbells that they submerge.
Okay, I'm 51, Jeff. I'm not 70. I'm not doing water aerobics.
I know they look
But
like they have a
nobody's-
lot of fun.
They really do. When we were in Florida, I watched them every day and said, "Oh, I was going to go down and join them."
Looks fun.
But also, nobody's going to see you. So why do you care?
Because it's at my age, it's not an effective workout. I can do like regular. I can lift weights. I've got a body
You
weight
just need
machine.
bigger styrofoam barbells, like a novelty strongman styrofoam barbells.
giant foam balls that gets Nerf balls that get soaking wet and say 100 pounds on them. All right,
Yeah,
that
just
makes sense.
get one of those yoga balls, push it to the bottom of your pool. Great
Eh.
work.
I mean, videotape this when you do, because yeah.
Oh boy.
But
Good.
speaking of pool, so I had to drain the hot tub in order to drain it. While it was there, if you guys remember, it was up on that small wooden platform,
Mhm.
which Vicky hates, and the wood was getting a little questionable to begin with. So you know what? While it's empty, I'm going to pull it off there and then dispose of the wooden platform and just have it resting on the concrete. And lo and behold, I found while moving my hot tub, an entirely new hot tub.
What?
So, yo dog,
dog.
I heard you like hot tubs. So we put a hot tub under your hot tub. So this is instead of being concrete all the
wow.
way across, it's someone filled this full of gravel. And if you can, just to get a frame of reference, the tile right there in this last picture is the same original tile that was on our pool that we had replaced. So I'm going to dig this gravel out and see what it's going to take to get this thing working again. If it doesn't work, I'm going to fill it back up full of gravel and put a hot tub over it.
Well,
I mean, I have.
I
This
think
feeling.
you found your workout.
Hey, I have this feeling that they.
Yes, you go to Gulag. You do shovel gravel out of hot tub.
I just have this feeling that they probably fill it in for a reason. But
Well, so
good luck.
I did research on that. And the thing about these in-ground hot tubs is they're fairly robust because they're basically just pools. And but a lot
There's
of
probably
people,
a pipe broken in under the
Like,
concrete.
deep, far
and that's
away.
the problem.
or they just didn't like that you couldn't, you don't have the adjustability, you don't have those cool back jets or anything like that. So it's, because I need another project.
I mean, that's what we said, but I mean, we said you don't. But that's okay.
That would be top of my list is shovel gravel out of an old hot tub.
I barely mow my lawn.
Oh, that's because you can only afford to replace so many windows on that Corvette and pool covers.
One goat. All right.
One
One goat.
You run over one pool cover, mowing not your lawn and not your lawnmower.
Oh,
All right,
boy.
Jeff.
Well, it was
Yep.
work weekend, and I know that's like the main topic today, so I'm not going to do too much. But what I did at my house to get to your house was, I packed up the Dorito Machino and I took it to the CNC Mayhem factory along with all the parts and things. And I don't know how much I actually built on the car, but I cut more metal than Ozzy Osbourne Metallica show in 1986. I was such a gritty, disgusting kitty all weekend long with all of my arms are still just destroyed from the amount of
Oh.
sparks that hit it.
Burns.
Burns, lots of burns. I will say that so I don't know if this is going to be part of the stories, but we kind of broke my I broke my trailer.
We did not do that.
No,
that was
I broke
rushing.
my
You were a little
trailer.
in a hurry getting back
I
out.
was in a hurry getting packed out because I thought my wife was very mad, which it turns out she was like, no, you're with your idiot friends. I know you're not coming back on time, no matter what you say. So
Yep.
I rushed to put the RX7 in the trailer, and the lip caught the flap hinge on my enclosed trailer and busted it all up. The flap, the hinge, the
It
lip
made
of
quite
the
a noise.
RX7. Yeah, it was terrible noise. So I went out to Fazio.
I'm glad you
Steel.
heard us tell you to stop.
Well,
Oh,
that's
I
different,
stopped.
Chrissy. That's
Yeah, that was
when
the
he
second
drove
one.
away and the door fell off the trailer because
Oh.
it
That
was
wasn't
different.
latched. This is
Oh, I'm sorry.
before
That's
then by
different.
about 20 minutes. It's separate
I was
incident.
hoping we could not mention that one.
Oh, I thought that was the one you were talking about. I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead.
That
Mental.
one.
I would like to submit to the board that the door falling off of your trailer, your new-ish trailer, is in fact a general Wakeman problem. It
General
should be
Wakeman
checked.
problem.
Oh,
without a doubt.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I
that's
will
fair.
say, because this is what you're working on, I went to Fazio Steel and I got myself the 6-foot stainless steel 4-inch hinge and fixed my trailer so it's all back together. That's it.
And I bought a 6-foot aluminum hinge, or I think it was aluminum, from Amazon. It was like $35, and it's
I paid $14 for
right, exactly. I don't have Fazios
Oh,
next
well, I
nearby.
paid $40.
Wait, and they had aluminum ones. I seem to remember they were like even cheaper, but they were smaller.
Yeah.
So, by the way, 4-inch means they were like 2 inches hinge, 2 inches. So it like moved the screws to the part where the plywood wasn't like all effed up from the first time that I ripped the hinge out. So.
Good. Well, congratulations. You fixed
Yeah.
things that you broke.
General Wakeman problems without a doubt.
Pretty much.
Totally. Great.
What'd you
What are
do?
you working on? Sorry, I was coughing.
Who?
You.
Chris.
Okay, great. Well, aside from the work weekend, I've been working on the Civic. I was able to get the driver's belt and mounts and all those things in. The battery mounted, all the battery cables run, and you actually run properly with P clips and riv nuts. Because how did we build race cars before riv nuts? It's like, I want to bolt this thing here. I'm just going to bolt this thing here. Thank you. It works out great for the low stress things. It makes the car easy to take apart too. When every single thing on the car is a 10 millimeter M6 bolt, practically, it all just comes right apart. Very convenient. I spent a lot of time trying to get a good alignment on this thing. Yeah. So the back. Yeah, well, the back was no problem. And this car shows no signs of any crash damage that I can see anywhere. Everything lines up pretty well.
For the people who are new, because we have some new listeners recently, what exactly are you talking about? It is the Civic. Give us the deets.
It's a 93 Civic hatch with K-swap and all kinds of things. Yeah, it's all the bits from our old 89 hatch that could go onto this new one, essentially. And then, it's fairly stock otherwise.
It's a bubble hatch.
Yeah. So trying to get the alignment set. The rear was fine, no problem. That goes in, no problem. The front, though, I've got camber adjusters that are basically a slotted hinge point on the upper control arm on the inside, as opposed to the kind of have like a
Civic, yep.
Right, the exact same parts, but with different control arms because they're different from the different generations. So, in that car, I was able to get all the camber in the world. Like, I actually had to dial a lot of it out because we had too much for a while. So I was trying to get like, let's get like 2.5. That'd be nice. So the driver's side with the camber all the way out, like the least amount of camber possible to get it, is 2.4, which, that's very good. The passenger side with the maximum amount of camber I can put into it is 1.8.
Oh.
And this includes doing things like swapping the control arms left to right, because that gives you a little more caster to do that. They're very slightly different, but if you do that,
did you know that?
More caster.
Didn't know that.
How do people come up with this stuff?
Somebody does
put
it
it in wrong
by accident, and they go,
Probably.
where'd all that caster come from?
Or if you just look at it, you can see.
Yeah, it's probably
It
happening.
includes grinding the back sides of the control arms at the pivot point, grinding that away so it can go all the way into the car and not.
I was
rub
going to say
against the
there's
towers.
like a body clearance you have to do back there too a little bit, right?
So I did that. Taking the bolts that bolt through the hinge points and putting them in a certain way, and actually grinding the heads down so that they don't clearance the
inside
in that area
of the wheel
there.
well,
Right,
yeah.
exactly. Yep. So unbolting the subframe and trying to leverage that over to one side, which it didn't really go, and there's not really a way to do it. Like in the Mazda 3 that we have, you can move the subframe quite considerably, and getting it square is something you actually have to take time to do, and it's critical. This car doesn't really have any adjustment. I loosened it, I leverage it to one side, I tightened it up. This is the best I can do. So we're going to see how it is. The next step is a ball joint, offset ball joint that'll go in the control arm that will give me what I need, which is still less expensive than, the other easy solution is everybody makes a slotted upper control arm for EG Civics, but I'm trying to keep it to a more easily replaceable ball joint. Like I'm trying to keep this is all stock. That's why I kept it this way. So if I need to replace it, boom, there's another stock one. Easy, fast, reliable, no problem. So we'll see.
Good idea.
But anyway, it's good enough for now.
For those of you who have not listened to our how to make a race car handle episode, they got to be equal.
Or close to it.
4 on one side and 1.4 on the other side.
1.8. So it's
1.8, yeah. That's not so bad.
It's not so bad. We're going to see how it goes. Equal
Chrissy,
is better. This is a lot of people have raced with worse. But actually now the car is actually done with everything that I can do with it right now. Like the kill switch mount is in tonight. It's all there. Everything's like tire pressures, wheels torqued. It just needs safety gear now, those are big. Roll cage, fire system, cool box and pump and all that stuff. But that's all it needs. I'm going to go and get some antique plates for it because a 93 Civic qualifies as an antique car.
That's awesome.
And then I don't need an inspection. I can drive it around.
Will you or will you not take it to Front Street in Philly where the kids race their Civics, and see if you can catch some dollars?
I will not. No.
Pinks?
I'm probably going to drive it to
Pinks?
work.
He doesn't have the underglow
He doesn't even
Oh, we
drive.
can get him underglow.
Oh, you have some underglow.
And
I don't
then-
even drive to work.
Yeah.
Needs
I'll
the
drive to work sometimes.
danger to
Great.
manifold screen. Yeah.
Okay, so here's another question.
I'll
and then
annoy
we
my
can go on.
coworkers when that thing shows up. But
If Joey 50 revs at you at the stoplight, will you punch it?
no, it's an
Yeah.
antique car. Come on.
You can't. The fender flares. What did our friends from CISO called you? They're big boy fender flares because
Yeah.
they're quite large.
Spelled BOI.
That's what she said.
Yeah, pretty. Oh
Yes.
goodness. Okay. Anyway.
Chrissy, do you have
Moving.
anything to add?
No,
I know we
I
have
worked-
more on the main topic.
Nope.
right?
I helped you with the work weekend. Helped you guys with the work weekend, and then busy at work like usual.
Well,
Let's
let's get
go.
right to news and notes time.
Listeners, there are few things that can divide the host of this show like Ken Block.
Love him.
He's an amazing driver, business marketer, and the
Done after,
Hooniverse.
done after one video. That was enough. Thanks.
It's like I got things to do, which is nothing.
So the Hooniverse Racing Division makes some incredible vehicles. And for example,
No.
this one. And
no.
this is the Hoona Pegasaurus. It is a
Love that name.
1400 horsepower twin turbo 911 built to chase the overall win at the 2022 Pikes Peak Hill Climb. It's a tribute to the 71 Pink Pig 907 race car and a nod to the old Mobil Oil Pegasus logos from the early days of the 356, and it highlights Hooniverse's partnership with Mobil One. The livery was designed by a street artist, Trevor Andrew, and design aside, this is a real impressive piece of innovation. BBI Autosport moved the 4-liter 6-cylinder forward, which makes it mid-engined, and they made it all-wheel drive. They have got more aero and wings than an IMSA prototype. But this is the really cool part. It's got dynamic suspension that adjusts based on GPS telemetry from last year's run in the Hoonicorn. Now, Block's running in the open class, and while you know the Hoonicorn climb video, you may not know that Ken Block has challenged at Pikes Peak before. In 2005, he drove a group in rally car in the event. And you can certainly bet that Ken Block is going to document this 100th running of the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb. It's going to be next month, June 26th. And if I see videos, we'll probably throw it on our social medias. But we've got a link to the Car and Driver article by Fred Smith, as well as the Auto Week piece by Wesley Wren in our show notes.
All of the wangs are big enough for me to take a nap on.
There's a
split-
lot of
Facts.
yeah.
The
You ain't wrong.
splitter is huge,
You need
and so
picnic
is the
on
wing
it.
in the back, right? And it looks like it has a rear diffuser as well. So
Mhm.
all of that means I'm just going to go take a nap on that.
I feel like two people could take a nap on that front diffuser and not really bother each other.
Maybe so.
But that's the way Pikes Peak cars run. I mean, that is not
Now that it's
outrageous
paved
compared
all the way to the
Yeah.
top. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, even back in the day, the old Suzuki Escudo, I mean, it might
Yeah.
as well have had a folding table as a splitter. That's pretty much what it
All
was.
right. Well, maybe I'm not as familiar, so it's still big arrow.
Oh, it's all the wang.
It's all aero.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. We know a thing or two about French cars.
Oh,
They're all right. Don't let Jeff say Citroen.
Citroen.
So when-
Don't
Say
don't
Citroen.
get mental to say
Uh-huh.
Citroen.
Yeah. So when Renault agreed to sell all their interest in Lada, how can you go wrong?
Lada,
Our interest
yeah,
was
exactly.
piqued. Matthew Guy, the Truth About Cars, tells us that the French automaker is selling all of their Russian stakes to Moscow. The price, 1 ruble, comrades, or current exchange rates, $1.50. Not a joke. Moscow Times said the facility would soon restart production of the Moscovich brand, because that's where you start, and no one's ever heard of them, right? Yep, that's because they've been defunct since 2001, producing legacy vehicles based on old Simca designs, because
That's gonna be great.
there
That's
is
a
nothing
good
but
idea.
success right there. Yep. Which is Simca
Oh,
designs are
goodness.
typically French Chryslers from the 70s.
Mhm.
Really, no, nothing has ever screamed success like some Russians building legacy French Chrysler designs on worn out tooling. This is
insert
going to be
Borat.
great.
Great success.
So under Renault, the plant did produce models like the Logan Duster, Sandero, all-time favorites of Top Gear's James May, the Renault's exit is expected to cost them a $2.2 billion write-off because everyone's that sick of Russia.
You know, like they didn't have a choice. It's not like they could stay there. It's not like they could try and profit off of it.
Like anyone else is going to buy it.
Yeah, nobody's
Yeah.
gonna buy it. Anyway,
Nope.
so hey, last week y'all remember I was pretty excited over the new VW built electric Scout. This week, the Auto Journalist's World Reaction has. I read about actually 5 or 6 pieces. I was gonna link a piece before, but I like these 2 also. The first comes from Adam Wilcox at Haggerty. He theorizes that this will put existing international Scout-built SUVs and pickups into the stratosphere. He cites the new Bronco raising prices of the original about 45%, and Bronco prices were already like huge, so whatever. He cites the new the all-electric. Sorry, he also says the all-electric Hummer made early versions of the H1 in museum condition, selling for over $200,000. Could you imagine anyone buying an H1 for $200,000?
Money laundering.
Money laundering, exactly.
Sure.
This is just NFTs with wheels, people. Anyway, the Scout, he cites that the Scout has a slight tendency to rust. No, I'm trying
No,
not
it
to
doesn't.
curse Sherlock, all right?
No, it does not have a slight tendency to rust.
It
It has
has
a
a hell of a
terrific tendency to rust.
Exactly. Thing came from rust from the factory. Owner neglect. I can also completely admit to owner neglect. Impossible to source parts. Yes. And much lower production numbers. That saying that this is going to make Scouts be even more expensive. Y'all know that every single Scout was a custom order, right? They didn't build them and then send them to dealerships. You went to the dealership and you checked the boxes, and the VIN number has no connection to whatever's on the car. You actually have to order from some guy in Michigan to like go to the microfile room and send you what parts were originally on your Scout. And it's a piece of
Good.
paper.
That's good.
Yeah.
Good.
So anyway, second journalist takes a much more negative, comes from Zach Bauman at Jalopnik. He quotes the title, "I fear the Volkswagen Scout will be a cowardly joke. The electric Scout will be a cynical branding exercise, and we all deserve it. It's worth
Wow.
nothing. It's worth noting that Zach is a third-generation Scout enthusiast, asked his wife to marry him on the tailgate of a Scout Terra, that's the little pickup. He is not a VW fan. Quote, finally, someone will marry the legendary reliability of the company that brought us never buy a German car out of warranty with the American nameplate that made rust a factory feature."
Wow.
He's not wrong.
Wow.
Both pieces are worth the read. They'll be in the show notes. Check it out.
That's
Thank
pretty
you.
amazing. All right, back in the day, your driver's test included a question on which way to turn your front wheels when parked on the street on a hill. The reason was a small but not imagined possibility that your car would simply roll away if a parking brake failed or the transmission slipped. New vehicles, particularly electric ones, have solved this dilemma, or have they? Andy Kalmowitz at Jalopnik tells us the National Traffic Highway Administration's latest recall, the Hyundai Ioniq 5 and Kia EV6, 2 of the hottest EVs from the Korean partners. Finally, it's not an electric vehicle catching fire. It is a software glitch, unironically called the vehicle rollaway from software error. Recall. From the notice, the shift-by-wire system is a subject. In the subject vehicles contains a shifter control unit, SCU, the electronic parking prowl actuator. A voltage fluctuation may occur with the vehicle off in the park position, which could impact the command signal from the SCU to the parking actuator, resulting in a momentary disengagement of the parking prowl and potential vehicle rollway. It impacts all 9,000 Kia EV6s and 10,000 Ioniq 5s. While the issue is the same, Hyundai recommends owners use the electronic parking brake when parking. The Kia recommends drivers park at their EV6s on flat surfaces. Oh, good. That's a fine.
All those people in San Francisco who bought
So,
these.
no problem
Not
at
a
all
problem.
there. Yeah, the replacement of the module is free and will be done at the dealership.
I'll just mention that we looked at the Ionic 5, and it is a fantastic vehicle, and on the short list for my wife's daily driver.
Just
Get
make
it,
sure
get on that list because their list is not short at all.
No,
Their list
not at all. They are
is
almost as
really
long as
long.
Tesla's. So, hey, out of nowhere, can I throw in some listener feedback in a totally wrong section of the show?
Yes.
It seems on YouTube, the doodly do, a guy named Justin Races Weekends, which is just as grammatically correct as Everyone Racers, reached out to our still beating hearts and gave our official partner a shout out. He said he liked our new intro music, which you can see on the YouTube on some of our shorter videos. And he wanted to know how many of us were going to Thunderhill because he bought a boring BMW off of Racing Junk. His exact quote, I bought a boring BMW off of Racing Junk. And isn't that exciting? It's like he called our catchphrase. He used it's amazing. Justin, we love you. This is the perfect.
None of us are going to be at Thunderhill.
None of us
though,
are going to be at Thunderhill.
but say hi to Corey.
Oh,
Yeah,
excuse me.
Miss it.
Hi.
Oh, sorry, mental.
So, Mental, are you going to Thunderhill? That's the question.
Yes, I am. I'll be judging Thunderhill. So.
Oh, very good. Well, Justin Races Weekends, however many of you are, check out Mental in the robes.
Yes.
So anyway, this is the perfect segue because we're going to be talking about what we bought off of Racing Junk, and we're going to be talking about Thunderhill sooner or later. So don't forget, you can view all the ads on Racing Junk and find your own boring BMW or post basic ads for free. RacingJunk.com. Subscribe to the newsletter and tell them you heard about us on the E1R podcast.
See, it's not just us. It's a great website.
Cool.
Upcoming races.
Lucky Dog at Atlanta Motorsports Park for their Southern Cup Series. There are 43 cars, only 6 BMWs. That's a nice ratio. Good. 14 Miatas. That's might need to become the new boring, but still not there yet. 3 Hondas, 1 Porsche, and a Fiero. Excellent. Grumpy Butt Hong Nor Supers there, and Buzz Vikings Lexus. So good luck to all of those folks.
Reset results.
So I was giving some.
That was pretty
congratulations.
good, actually,
That was
Mental.
good.
That was close.
Yeah.
Champ Car raced at Hallett Saturday. Kruger. I wonder if he's named after the guy from.
I know. So
Cameron.
it's Kruger tuned. I did not
Kruger
capitalize the
tuned.
T.
No. Oh, there it is. Okay.
There.
Kruger
My bad.
tuned. That's actually a pretty good name. Won in a Boxster 90 seconds over CU Boulder Racing. That's obviously Colorado University Boulder Racing team. The Colorado Boulder Racing team. Third was PTS in a 96 BMW 318 Ti. So that gets like a half boring, right?
Depends on if it's still an 18.
It's true because it might be a 318 body, but who's got that motor still? Sunday, Basil Weenie beat Kruger Boxster by a mere 21.9 seconds. Third place was the Samo Tutti Piloti Miata. I hope I'm saying that right. A stunning 16 laps back. Wow, that was a gap. 21.9 seconds and then 16 laps. Go Kruger and Basil Weenie. On Saturday, Battle Scarred was 19th, and on Sunday they finished 7th. So
That's
thanks
better.
to those guys. Yeah.
Cool.
Listener feedback.
Our buddy Tyler Stank's new excursion generated some comments on both the Gram and Facebook.
Brett W said, welcome to the V10 Club. Also, welcome to the sub 10 miles per gallon club.
Understood.
We're pretty much
Yes.
there.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was doing the math on how much premix oil we need. And I was like,
A lot.
divide into five, because we have 5-gallon cans. I was like, shit, I better buy a case of this stuff.
Yeah.
That's why I gave you the 1.5 gallons of mercury quicksilver.
I know, but are
outboard
we going to
cheap
use that or are we going to use the good
Yeah.
stuff? I don't know.
No,
Okay.
this stuff apparently works just as well. And we've got it. It's free. It was in
Yep.
my shed for 10 years at the
There you
Cape. So it's
go.
got to be totally legit. We'll just use a little more.
So when I picked it up, obviously it's a used car lot, and you're not going to argue with a dealership and I want a full tank of gas. So it had a 16th of a tank. As I exited the parking lot, the gas light came on in this thing.
Oh,
Of course.
what?
So I go
course.
on base where gas is cheaper, and my card cuts off at $80.
Yeah.
I reinsert it. It cuts
Yeah.
off again, and it is not full.
Well, and then you're like, this
Eat the
isn't even my
beast.
truck. Like, how much am I really going to fill it up for Tyler?
Well, it's going to be here for a few
Save your
months. And-
receipts. Yeah.
And also just the heat with everything down here, you don't want to leave a half tank or less, because basically if the vehicle is going to be sitting, that's just, you're asking for death to a fuel pump.
Well, all right.
But I'm
Anyway,
sorry, I cut you off there for
no-
your point, Jeff.
That's fine. David E pointed out 10 cylinder means 2 extra opportunities for spark plug extraction surgery. Hope he
Oh.
got the later heads and that sucker.
And we also on the Instas and Facebook, we had a big discussion centered around the new 3 p.m. Race ride.
Jack B said, judging by the affordable look of that cage, I'm guessing this is not the 10-man 392 car, which he is referring actually to
Oh.
Towley.
Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't get that. I didn't know
get
who
it
he was
either.
referring to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say our
No,
cage
it's
isn't
not.
bad, but it's
Towley.
not Towley cage.
Yeah.
It's also not
Well,
Towley.
If it were a good cage, it wouldn't have gaps on the top of the main. hoop
We'll get there. We'll
rods.
get
We
there.
fixed
you know.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Tim B said, I can't hear the engine over the sound of the chainsaw in the background.
Correct.
Yes.
Totally. DC Doug added, that their neighbors, they love you.
Actually, he did. He
They
came out and
do.
he said
They
he
do.
did, yeah. After I rammed it into the back of the trailer, he came out and said hi.
Yeah.
This just in, I had asked on the YouTubes for Justin to tell us what he got off of racingjunk.com, and he has written back.
He
It is an
emailed us. Oh, great.
It is an E34. It used to be painted with Fireball logos all over it. And then he asked if Mental will be judging at Thunderhill. So yeah.
An
So it's an
E34,
E34.
not
not
one of the
boring.
most. No, not that boring. Those are
Oh
nice.
no.
Good job, Justin.
I still would love to have one as a DD, just to find a good old school. Yeah.
535 manual.
Shark
Yeah.
nose. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
That's an
Sign 'em up.
E23, but
I'm sorry. Yeah. No. Yeah. 34. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Don't even want the big engine. Don't want an M. Just a nice one.
cool.
All right.
Cool.
Sim Racing Report.
We went to Wild West Motorsports Park in rally cars and trucks, and it's fun. Well, for the few minutes I was there until my Oculus died and wouldn't start again, and because who knew that the computer is not enough to power the Oculus on its own? Like I don't know. Anyway,
You did better
Mad.
than I did. I paid to download 2 cars in the track, and then failed to load all night long, and my computer borked, so I
Oh.
didn't even get to race for 5 minutes.
You're in the same boat.
cool.
Hmm.
Well, anyway, Dave won that in a Pro 4. Santiago close behind in a Beetle, so that's great. They were evenly matched.
It was good to see
And-
Santiago again. I talked to him
Absolutely.
on the Discord for a little while.
Cool. Second race was a figure 8, so everyone won.
Or lost, depending on your...
Yeah, no, everyone wins in a figure 8
Yes.
in
Absolutely.
virtual environment.
Lemons actually also had a race, but I had a friend who was celebrating his 50th birthday, and I'm not entirely sure I was conscious the whole weekend. So
Mental,
Mm-hmm.
guess who we got to say hi to in real life this
Oh,
weekend?
that's true. And
Aw.
she brought over desserts for the
What
boys.
were they? They were wonderful. I have no idea what they were named.
I think they were
They're like
almond
Cookie
bars. Yeah.
Almond
I think-
bars. Okay.
Oh, they might have been Biscoff. Did they taste like Biscoff?
They probably more Biscoff than almond. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know what
Biscoff.
Biscoff is, but they were yummy.
it's a
It's cookie spread. It's like Nutella without the
Oh.
nuts.
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
They were
Or
really
Yeah.
good.
Biscoff. Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
they
they
kind
were.
of tasted like the cookie part of chocolate chip cookies.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm,
Yes,
mhm.
and they
Loved
were
them.
some of them were al dente.
that is a
Mhm.
stunning ability to constantly be making new baked goods, and all of them are always
Have you seen
awesome.
the internet? It's really big.
Yeah, and I know lots of people who
And there's more
have
than
the
just
internet
corn
and
on it.
make terrible cookies.
Well, she does.
They're like, "Oh, I got this recipe on the internet." Blah.
No.
Whose internet? Yeah. So
Yeah. Well, anyway, we got to say
Anyway,
hi to Chrissy's
it's
mom,
all-
and now we'll say it virtually. Hi, Chrissy.
And they're all caught up on podcasts because they were traveling. So they
Okay.
listen
Excellent.
to all our shows.
Hey, topic time.
That was like kind of unenthusiastic.
I'm trying not to yell too loud. My family's upstairs.
Show them up, Chrissy.
Really? I only live.
See, but you go so loud, the mic cuts off.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the power.
Sorry.
Hey, guess what? The name of this show is Meet the 3 p.m. Dorito Mobilo, which I think might be its new name. Can we use that
Or-
as a name?
It's kind
No,
of long.
I literally
Dorito
called it the
Mobilo.
Z.
Dorito the Z. That's what I
I
kept
called
calling
it the Z.
Let's go over to the
And Chris-
Z. Oh,
Chris is
damn it,
like,
it's
right.
not
And
a
Chris is
Z.
like, it's not a Z. And I was like, I know. Like,
What about just calling it
duh.
black? What about calling it black brap? Brap.
No, it'll
Yeah,
find
it's
a
too
name.
close. Like it's just too close. It'll
Little too
sort
on the
itself
nose.
out.
All right.
It'll
It's
figure
like
it
when
out.
you have when you get a new pet. It'll tell you its
It'll
name.
tell
You
you
just
its
need to
name,
spend some time with it.
Yeah, we'll get there.
It can't be the Mazda too. Like it has to be.
Yeah,
We already have one of those.
It's like having
You could be
a
like,
Chris on this
yeah.
show.
Mazda, point at the Cressida, not a Mazda.
Not
All right.
Mazda.
For those who don't know, it is a second generation Mazda RX-7. Now, an RX-7, like the RX-3s, the RX-4s, even some of their pickup trucks in the 70s, do not use a traditional four-stroke piston engine. These are powered by a rotary engine. And if you know what a rotary is, we're sorry to bother you with this one. But it is invented by Felix Wankel. Yes, that's his real name. He was a German engineer, so you get to even kind of say it was a German accent. I am Felix Wankel. It is a type of internal combustion engine that uses an eccentric rotary designed to convert pressure into rotating motion. Now, the triangle inside basically an oblong egg-shaped chamber goes around, hence the phrase magical spinny triangle, or Doritos, if you were. So we do have a picture for those on the
I was
interwebs.
just about to
So that's
screen
what
share.
that's the magical Dorito.
Yeah,
And
if
go.
you don't know how this works, there's a lot of GIFs out there that will show like the spin and the compression and the combustion and all that. Check
funny
that out.
you should mention that, because before the show started, I made it a point to have one of those brought up, and we can share that right
Ooh.
now.
Ooh.
Aren't you fancy?
Mhm. So there you have it.
We don't see it yet. Oh, there it
Oh,
is.
we don't-
There you go.
What? We need to say what's going on. This
Okay,
is
so
bad
we are
podcasting.
looking at a GIF, and you can see the spinny Dorito inside the oblong chamber.
It's
And
a
the
cool
in-
ranch Dorito. Just
It-
saying.
It is. It's kind of turquoisey. And you can see the center little B shape there. That is the crankshaft. And you can see the A shape there. That is the rotor. And you can see at the top, air comes in, gets compressed, gets sparked, exhausts.
Propose we call the car Nacho.
Nacho car.
Just Nacho. Because it's quick, it's easy, it's catchy.
Dorito Machino.
That's not
Nacho.
bad. That's
That was a
not
cool-
just not bad.
That was a cool graphic. Thank you.
Yes. So the thing about rotaries is they are silky smooth. They can rev to the moon. There was stories of the old RX2s back in the day launching at 12,000 RPMs and not shifting to 24,000 RPMs. They also produce no torque, and they use a lot of fuel.
Mhm.
They are notoriously loud, especially in lemons applications, because they generate a lot of heat, and those tend to eat the mufflers. And most RX-7 enthusiasts have a predisposition to just getting rid of the mufflers whatsoever. At Sonoma, we had to institute a ban on running rotaries in the penalty box.
Well, they're also the way to hop them up. Street porting and bridge porting makes them just incredibly loud.
And
We don't have
hot.
it. And
Yeah.
hot. Yeah.
This car
Anyway,
does not have any of those things,
any of
as far
those
as we
things.
know.
We don't know. I should mention that we bought this SCCA Racer off of RacingJunk.com, and this weekend we all got together at Chris and Chrissy's house, and we were going to get everything done that we need to get done as a group, and basically leave Jeff with a list that he could handle. Which, as you can see by my deft use of my own trailer, Getting as much done as possible on the weekend was obviously a focus.
Now,
So
what do
yeah,
you think? Were we successful in that regard?
I think so. I think the list is very, very attainable in the couple of weekends we have left.
Excellent.
But we focus mostly on the safety stuff, I think, right?
Yeah, and this episode could also be called "How to Unf the Race Car You Just Bought," because
That's a great way
it's
to put it.
pretty much always going to be that way. There's always going to be stuff you have to unf. So now, how do you do it? Yeah. So let's go through the list. Maybe things that we found upon inspection that needed said action.
Sure.
Like what was the butcher bill we were coming into this one?
We started with the cage. Should we do the whole list and then we'll go back and talk to him, or talk about each one?
Let's just kind of lay the lay of the land. Like, what are we coming into this weekend having to deal with? We knew
walking in that the cage had some design flaws. We had also felt around and we found some unfinished welds. The fuel lines, for some reason, were routed through the cabin, which is allowed in SCCA, but not in Lemons, so we knew we had to move those. It had a hella floppy Kirky seat that we knew not only had no adjustment on it, and we have humans of different size who share a race car, so that doesn't work. And probably wouldn't pass tech anyway, right? I mean,
the headrest, it has one of those Kirkies that only has one oval slot for the belts, and you can grab the headrest and just can move it around.
Yeah.
It doesn't really give any
I
actual impact protection.
Yeah, I think we walked in knowing we needed to do all that, and then knowing that we had to just assess it. So we have to check every nut and bolt. We have to flush we say it all the time, everybody, never bring a car to the track that you have not immediately flushed all of the brake fluid. But we didn't even know how much brakes it had in it, or whether it was aligned, or any of those things. So we had already removed the fire system because it had a halon fire system that was way out of date. And then I think that's about it that we knew going in.
Yeah.
Metal, go ahead. Oh, we can't hear you.
You're very quiet, Mental.
Sorry, I was and if I'm off base on this one, and you didn't buy this from some sketchy guy that had a court date and he needed the cash. This person had campaign. So this is not someone who is misleading you. This is just rules evolve and different series have different rules. And then, people, when they have to quit racing, they don't accept it for a couple of years. The car sits for a while before they get rid of it. So you're buying a good, well-prepared race car with a stack of trophies and wins, and everything Jeff just said, you still need to do.
Yeah, this car had a long-standing SCCA logbook, long time.
I also have, if I can, go ahead. I can share real quick the to-do list to jog your memory in case there was anything, because I took a picture and then I posted something that everybody turned appropriate onto the internet.
No one can read my writing.
Yeah.
Okay. Well done, Chrissy. All right. I presume that was the start, hopefully not the end.
That was the start.
Okay.
Yeah. Things got removed, things got added. There was then an after list too. So
I think the two major heavy welding projects were fixing the cage and building the seat with the adjusters and everything.
Yeah.
So that's probably the best place to start.
Let's go to the cage first.
So down bars.
You started the cage. Yeah. What exactly was wrong with this
that's
cage?
What I was gonna get to. So we knew automatically the two things that we knew were wrong with the cage where the down bars were in the wrong position. So this is the back stays. Everybody knows main hoop goes over the driver's head, and it has two bars that go back to the back of the car. They were mounted on a transverse piece of tube, so they didn't have their own footing, which
They're
is
on the strut brace, basically.
On the strut brace, yes, which is not legal by Lemons standards. And they weren't. Did they hit behind the wheel wells? They were in the middle of the wheel wells.
They were. Yeah, the distance was fine, but they were on the strut brace. Which why anyone would put a load-bearing member on a different member that is welded only in shear? I don't see why anyone thinks that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's not a great design. So we moved them
happens all the time.
Independent feet, so we had to cut off the bars. It also had a petty bar. For those of you who don't know what that is, that's from the middle of the main hoop, so above in the center of the car to the floor.
Next to the driver's shoulder is where this one was.
Yeah,
it wasn't even on the
shoulder.
top. It wasn't up here by the head. it was by the shoulder, like off the harness bar diagonal bar component. That's
Was
where
it?
the
I
petty
thought it
bar
was off the
came from.
head
Yeah.
bar.
Nope.
I
Go
guess
look
you're
at
right.
the
'cause
pointy
now-
bit that's still
yeah,
there.
you're right. Exactly. It was off the harness bar.
You cut it off.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's-
and then I cut myself all weekend on it later. So, yeah, so it came off the harness bar and went to the footwell of the passenger seat, which is unacceptable because we have things to put in the passenger seat, including hopefully someday a passenger. So that got
Maybe.
cut out. Basically, I climbed in the hatchback with the cutoff wheel, the death wheel, and
And a
showered in
Sawzall.
sparks for like an
hours,
hour.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh,
It was
two, I
really
think.
bad.
I think it
Yeah.
took two. This is when I was doing stuff on the Civic because no one else could be in the Z with, sorry, the RX with Jeff,
See,
because
the Z.
the whole car was full of sparks because Jeff is just cutting everything. So now this, I'm mounting the battery in the Civic and running the cables, kind of waiting for Jeff to be done with that. Yeah.
So we rebuilt the down
Great
bars.
pictures of that too, of Jeff cutting things sitting in the back seat of the
Like,
RX with
hi-
the non-existent back seat,
hiding
hiding,
under a pizza box.
giving himself a spark shower.
It was
For a
terrible.
long time.
Yeah. Yeah. I do we want to say anything else about that? I mean, we remade 2 backstays. We got rid of the petty bar.
But we were able to use a bunch of the bars when we needed to add them back. We used at least one of the bars and still had leftovers. So
We still have the petty bar.
yeah,
So
the roll cage we took out, we were able to reuse, which is great.
and then we also know that we had a non 360 degree weld at the top of the main hoop to down bar, front
driver's
down
side.
bar, right,
Driver's
Chris?
side.
Front down bar is what it was.
Yeah, right above the driver's head.
So we had to cut a hole in the roof and correct that welding. Go ahead, Mental.
And that's something you actually see a lot coming from other series where they don't have a Dale or a Pagel. Is if they can't see it, they don't weld at 360. And we've had this argument in the tech inspections. Well, I've been running it that way with years with such and such. Then you are welcome to go back and rejoin them. But it needs, so if you don't see a plinth box or where they've cut the flaps open on the roof of the car, if you're buying a race car, that should immediately call your attention to that.
Just stick your finger up there and see what you feel.
Yeah, I mean that's really
Yeah.
the key.
It's really, it's a good motto for life.
Mhm.
I'm trying to find because I think we had that picture, right?
Of what?
The hole, the non 360
Yeah.
weld.
Should be in there.
I'm looking for it.
Okay. Bad
Yeah.
pod.
Well, at the very least, I'm going
Alrighty,
to share a
keep going.
picture of Jeff giving himself a spark shower because it's too good.
Spark shower.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. just wearing a pizza box.
Mhm.
Yep,
And,
sitting in the back seat. Yeah.
And luckily
great.
put himself outside. So not luckily, intelligently, you guys kicked him outside. So you don't have to deal with
Oh, yeah.
37 shards every time you walk into the
We
garage.
did that
barefoot.
anyway, but we
I
do not
was-
we do not walk in our garage barefoot ever,
No.
ever, ever.
It is
I-
dangerous.
Nope.
I still do it about twice a year. I got to pull a decent sized
Nope.
chunk of
Mm-mm.
metal or
Yeah,
wire
then
out of my
you're-
foot.
You're dumb.
Yeah.
Don't
No.
do
Just a
that.
redneck, and I just don't like shoes.
I have
I-
carpet
I-
in my garage because it
I
never
like-
gets cars. So, yeah, so that was the cage. I think that was pretty basic. I mean, it was we pulled the we put in a what do we call that thing? What's the header bar
Yeah,
thing?
that was the last thing we did. A bar that goes between the main hoop and the forward header bar with some bends in it to try to get a little more head clearance. Because
Mhm.
once we got the passenger seat in, as low as it could possibly be, not passenger seat, driver's seat in
Driver's
the new
seat,
one,
yeah.
as low as it could possibly be, we realized some of our taller members needed a little more clearance. So by putting the bar in the middle, if you then were to drape an imaginary sheet over the cage, that gets you a considerable amount more room having that extra bar there. So fortunately,
Safer for
we
taller drivers.
fortunately we were able to find 2 bars in the garage already bent, and the first one what was almost perfect got cut too short because
How many
anytime
times
you're going,
Did you?
that we all
warn?
said this is going to be too short, this is going to get cut too short, and
It's
we
like it's
crept
way
up on
too
it,
long.
and then it was way too short because every time we do these kind of bars with the double bends like that from the inside, they're always too short. Anyway, found another one, did that one worked fine.
Yeah.
So
Since you brought it up, oh, sorry, Bethel, you got a question? Go
I'll say with regards to this cage, because all three of you have built, I think we counted on on a show years ago. I want to say you've built 8 cages from
It's like
scratch.
1,000.
12.
Okay. And then
Yeah.
you've fixed easily that many. So in the realm of fixing cages, scale of, 0 to 10, how bad was this one?
Oh, this wasn't bad.
It's bad.
No, and it's an okay cage. It doesn't have the level of detail that like of fitment that I really would have liked. But the welds where they are done are good quality everywhere. Like, the fitment of all the tubing is very good.
The
just
plates, the spreader plates are all great.
and they're all 360 welded, except for we found like a 1 inch gap on one that we filled in. So like this is for going from the example of some that just, well, this has to get cut out, no other options, to fixable. I mean, this is like better than what's in the Cressida, for example.
And by the way, these are all safe, but better design gets you more room.
Yeah.
And gets you more things. One thing that I love about this cage is what they did for the foot protection. So they not only like front tubes down, but they have some extended tubes in front of the driver and the passenger feet to add protection from the dash bar down. Dash bar forward, I should say. So
and the driver's doors bars go all the way to the door to the door shell. Like there's lots of room in the door. Yeah.
Except you said you were concerned about the driver footwell. It's a little small.
The footwell's a little tight because by the time your knee, when you come up, it hits the steering wheel and the seat. And then we had some aftermarket pedal covers on the pedals, and I couldn't really get my foot off of the clutch very well. So we took the pedal cover off.
And part of that is because there's some extra bars down there.
Yeah.
But it's also, this cage was easy because we could take the trunk lid off. So we had open air space rather than trying to stuff yourself in the back there. So that was helpful.
I didn't have to stuff myself at all.
Yeah. It definitely wasn't climbing through the monkey bars to do some of those welds.
Yeah. Right. So that was kind of nice.
When those cars were new, that was a perfectly acceptable travel option when you had more than one person that wanted to go someplace with you. I spent many a time riding in the hatch of RX7s and CRXs and 240Zs and the like.
MGB GTs also acceptable for them.
C4 Corvettes. Let me tell you this one. The cage design was designed to an SCCA, sprint kind of car. So it was only for one person. And it was only for one person all the time. So not having seat sliders or having that petty bar through the passenger compartment, or not doing a straight ladder in the passenger side are things we never would have done, but totally make sense for what they were building for. So,
yep.
Yeah. You mentioned the seat. Why don't you do the seat next?
So the seat was a Kirky that was bolted with 2 bolts to the floor and then 2 bolts to a back brace.
Very weird bolting.
Yeah.
Setup.
It had quite a heavy layback to it and no headrest support at all. And plus Kirky's, like that style Kirky doesn't usually pass SAC because of the lack of head support, and also just we don't want one because they're not comfortable. So, there are Kirkys that are quite comfortable and well designed and have good things. This was not one of them at all.
It was the single aluminum.
It's like a drag race seat, practically.
Like a drag racer seat,
and the tiny, very thin padding topper on it.
Yeah. So that had to come out because we need sliders. We've got an OMP HTER 400 seat that we run in everything that fits all of our drivers. We all think it's comfortable. It's been holding up well. It's FIA rated. It's got halo head protection, but not too big, just a little bit, because when it gets too big, then you have harder time. Some of us have a hard time getting out of the car. So it's kind of like it's the Goldilocks seat that we have found for us. So combined with our usual, standard side mount seat brackets and Jeep TJ sliders, and then Jeff got a planted seat mount base for this car. That's what we had going into this. Well, the planted seat mount base didn't quite work as it was because the previous builders had cut out the rear seat mounts. Those were gone. When they cut it out, I think they used an electric beaver
That's
to
right.
cut out
Bomar's electric beaver.
right, to cut out the ones on the tunnel side, and then they just
Let it
pop riveted
rust.
a piece of a piece of steel over it, but not fitted at all, just kind of over it. It
Let's
was
just
terrible.
close
So
it so the muskrats can't get in and out.
yeah, so once I found that, I said, all right, well, there's where I got to start. So took the riveted piece off, cut out a square of the beaver eaten part of it, and then had to then make a replacement panel to weld in and seam seal and whatnot, just so that wasn't exceptionally weak. Also, the repair panel that they put over it made it so I couldn't get the seat bracket all the way over to the tunnel, to trying to get move the seat as far to the inboard as you can to give driver head clearance. So made that, welded that all back together, and then started working on the seat bracket. Took the planted seat bracket. The front mounts were okay. Had to bend the tabs down a little bit to change the angle, so that, because we want this to angle down from front to back, because that helps with height for shorter drivers and for taller ones. And then at the back, had to cut the mounts off of that they had, because we weren't mounting there anyway. So anyway, got it so that the back of the seat bracket is touching the floor, welded to some big plates that have holes drilled through them, and then sandwich another big piece of metal on the other side of the floor on the bottom of that. So it ends up being 4 bolts at the back of the seat, sandwiched into big mounting plates, holding the back of the seat to the floor. So I think that's pretty sturdy. And then the front 2 go into the OEM seat mount holes. So that's not going anywhere. Got the sliders bolted to that, and then welded on some brackets to hold the sliders to the side mount seat brackets, so that it's not just a piece of flat stock. It's got some square tubing there at the side too, to help keep it from bending in a heavy load, and get the seat in. So the seat is as low as it can possibly be while having a slider in it. So it's maybe an inch and a half at most off of the floor by the time you get the slider in the bracket.
And as always, our design makes sure that it lifts as it moves forward. So that way the shorter drivers who will be pulling the seat up also get some height. And the taller drivers get down below the cage.
Which is causes extra work, but we want the seat bracket to be right. That's important to
it's
be
actually
safe.
a great seat bracket. I fabulous job.
You worked on it most of Saturday, I feel.
Yeah.
So
Well, because I had to fix the trans tunnel, and I had to things like that weren't right. So
yep.
But that's the time to do it, not later.
Yeah.
So yeah, seat in. That I have to remove mount the sub belt things. So theirs were too far forward, so that they would have been either directly down or slightly forward for some of our drivers. So they had to move those back so that they had the correct angle to them.
There you go.
Again, with a big old plate under the floor, spread that load.
I'm going to quickly go through the fuel lines. So we know the fuel lines. So this has a cell in it. It had a 22-gallon cell or whatever. It's in an aluminum box. The box is very well built, I think, well designed. We tend to just weld a box together. It's got Zeus screws and all that other stuff in it.
It's really nice, actually.
Yeah. I might have made it out of something a little thicker. I don't know. It seems like, because we like to throw things on top of it, when we're packing.
You do.
Of course. Yes. Why have a hatchback if you can't store things in it? Anyway.
Empty fuel jugs will still fit.
That's true, yeah. So anyway, these AN braided lines went from the quite complicated fuel pump setup. So it had a low pressure, low flow pump into a swirl pot, to then the high flow pump would pump it to the front of the motor, the front of the car where it has the motor. And that all went through just went right out of the box and down the passenger floor and through the firewall. So we had to redo all of that, which took some planning to make sure the fuel lines are under the car and protected and away from the heat. Not everything got too far away from the heat, so there's some heat shielding that I'll still have to do. But then return them all the way back to the car. Had to like figure out, how does the system work? Like, what's up with the 2 pumps? The pumps are probably almost as loud as the car itself. I think those are the loudest damn pumps on the planet.
Well, they're hard mounted, which doesn't help. There's
Yeah,
no
we need to like
vibration isolation on those.
yeah, we need to get like some hockey puck mounts or something on there to try and mount it in there. And Mental, I know you love this part. So while we were taking things apart, Jim like dropped a fuel screw in like behind the box and like between the tail lights and the fuel box. And we're looking, I like started pulling some of the fuel box right. I'm like, what the hell is down there? And I'm like shining flashlights. I'm like, there's like something zip tied to the floor. We
This is
found
like where the spare tire would
where
go.
the spare tire would be. We found 40-pound lead weight vest.
Of course, I did.
They had a weight minimum for his class.
Had a weight minimum for his class.
Of course, I did lots of squats with it on.
And a couple burpees. Yeah.
I did a couple burpees and I got so tired after that. I was like, nope, I'm out.
You doing a burpee with a weight vest just made me tired. I have to go take a nap now.
Yeah.
I only did like 5.
I tried to upload them to the
Really
drive
good
for the
boy.
show, and they're still uploading.
Yeah,
Sorry.
No one
looks
is
like
as fit as Chrissy.
So I got some really good ones of Chris doing curls. It's like veins. Are
And he had
popping
to,
out.
he had to put it on me because it was too heavy to put on myself.
So we save the weight vest. So when you come to Jersey, Mental, you can put it on and do some.
As
push-ups
we do
yourself.
to
Yeah.
save all of the things we find out of our race cars.
Jeff wants us to be the new black flag penalty on the team. If you get a flag, you have to wear that
To do burpees.
for the evening.
That's kind of
Oh,
That is more of a motivator than the marital aid, because
and do burpees. What?
having at various points have to walk around with plate steel on a vest. Yeah, that wears you. That wears you down.
Oh.
Oh,
Yeah.
one thing I forgot, the cage we were talking about. We didn't talk about how do you fix when one of your 360 welds is not done? How do you get to that? Well, you get a 2-inch hole saw. You line it up as best you can figure through the spot in the roof with the least double walled areas, and you cut a big hole in the roof. And then you stick the welder down
It
there.
wasn't that big of a hole.
And with
No.
one eye, you weld that thing shut the best you can get to it, and then you do it again, and then you do it again, just to be sure, just so that no one ever reaches their finger up there and says, no, there's no weld up there. There's definitely weld up there.
Yeah.
And then Chrissy made a nice little aluminum square to go over that hole
With
4 little
rivets?
rivets.
Yep.
And then she did.
I did more burpees.
No, I was doing my
Wow, these are
squats.
squats. You did do burpees. But yeah.
I'm tired.
One more deep one.
No, then it makes it look like I'm pulling or something. I didn't know that was on video.
You didn't know I was video you?
I did
I'm
not
like,
know.
do it again.
It was difficult.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
All right.
Anyway, what
What
else
else
did
did
we
we
do?
find? We checked fitment of the big wheels, because this thing came with 15 by 7-inch wheels with 10-year-old R compound hand cooks. Obviously, can't run those. What do we have? Well, we've got the wheels from the Z, which are exactly the same size and offset that get run on Tally. So we said, well, these will work. We just got to figure out how much spacer to put in them. So a lot of test fitting spacers and stacking those on top of them. Fortunately, the car already has nice aftermarket bullnose lug studs, so that's good.
Yeah,
so we
ARP
figured that out.
style. If
Yep.
they're ARPs or not, we don't know, but
We'll find out when we have to replace them.
yeah.
There's plenty of meat on the brakes. We think they're Hawk Blues, which means it's going to chew through rotors, but the guy gave us a bunch of rotors, so that's good. Brake fluid flush, which is a darn good thing we did, because does anyone remember what year they stopped selling ATE Super Blue? Does anybody have any clue?
I actually do. God, I want to say it was 2000. I want to say 9, but I feel like it was 11.
Okay, that's what the car had in it. Had Super Blue.
And it was
Yes.
blue as blue too. It
Oh,
was
yeah.
very blue.
So
Dark
it was
blue.
good blue, just
just
yeah.
old.
old. And the reason
Yeah.
they did that is that was the trick, is you would alternate between the blue and gold, and that way you knew when your system was completely
Right,
flushed.
exactly.
And it actually worked. We did it this weekend, and halfway through, Chris was like, Hey, you know what? That was actually cool.
Yeah,
It's
but
clear now.
That's pretty good. I can tell all of a sudden the blue is out.
but legislators who are all lawyers and
damn.
know nothing about cars
The
decided,
hell?
but it
Screw
doesn't
you,
look like brake fluid. Someone might make a mistake.
Yeah.
They think it's coolant, or they drink it because they think
washer
it's
fluid.
Kool-Aid.
Washer fluid
Tastes
yeah,
like blue.
Exactly.
Tastes like
Tastes
blue. We definitely had some blue this
Definitely had
weekend.
some of that.
It wasn't oil. It
Ah.
wasn't. It wasn't.
Yep.
Maybe
brake fluid,
that's
though.
why we screwed up everything while I was packing. You gave me a Slurpee with like 80% alcohol.
That was at 2
Or
o'clock.
20% brake fluid.
I also
Yeah.
didn't. I didn't make it. I just bought it.
So got the super blue out and put in Motul RBF 600. Checked the brakes; they look good. Gave it a car once over. I only found 2 loose bolts. Not tight bolts in the rear suspension. They weren't loose, but they were not tight. And then I paint penned all the rear suspension to make sure we'll see nothing getting loose there.
Well, I
Um,
found like 4 when I was under there doing the other stuff. So
Oh, good.
add that to the list because I found the 3 that were missing in the exhaust.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found 2 that were loose in the rear differential suspension area.
No, so by the time I got there, you'd already done a lot of them. Good.
Yeah.
That makes sense then.
And
Let's see.
the thing is covered in mud because they rally crossed it. So we didn't get a
there's
chance to clean it,
chunks
but it's like
of dirt under it.
Yeah, grassy dirt. Like
Yeah.
Awesome.
Then we found a variety of field expedient repairs
Mhm.
that had been done. Like someone decided that, they needed taillights sometimes. So they just ran 2 wires from a switch panel at next to the driver's seat very loosely throughout the car to get to the taillights to do that. Just like
they
there's
just had,
one
like,
P clip holding them together.
a reel of that stuff from Pep Boys. Like,
Yeah.
just reel out 6 feet of this wire. It'll be fine.
Yeah. So that's unfortunate that it was done so poorly.
But we'll
It
fix
was.
all those.
It's probably exactly like you said though. Like they show it, and go, "Hey, dude, you got any brake lights? When did that
it's
become a
taillights, yeah.
or when did that become a requirement? It was in the FCRs like a month ago. We're not going to let you race. Ah, crap! Where's my speakers for my truck? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So we did a lot of what does that switch do? How does that
Several
work?
do nothing. There's the 2 on the forward panel where the gauges are, like where the radio used to be.
One says nitrous.
Yeah.
There's
Neither of them do anything.
They are
don't
the
do anything.
goggles. They are the
Yep,
goggles.
There's 2 lights there's only where the stock gauge cluster was. There's a tack. And there's 2 lights, and we don't know what they do. One of them comes on when the ignition comes on.
Also, there is
No
a
idea.
sticker that says "Don't put baby in the box."
Yes.
There is a baby. Yep, that's there.
Yep.
Why?
It's a
I don't know.
graphical sticker that says that. It doesn't actually have any
Yes.
words.
Correct.
Yep.
Chrissy pulled off the numbers and the some of the names and pulled all the things, so getting it ready for the theming. But I think what we have left.
Well, we did an alignment too. That was
we
almost the
did
last
alignment.
thing.
You're
We
right,
had it on
Ooh.
the stands, so we did the alignment. It was off. It was like 3/16 an inch towed in the rear, and the camber was a degree off left to right in the front, and the front was a 1/4 inch or a little more than a 1/4 inch towed out. So again, these are maybe fine on sprint racing, but they're going to
Well,
chew up some tires if
Don't
we go
forget
endurance
the
racing that way.
thrust was terrible.
Oh yeah,
because
thrust angle is way off.
They had, we think they had aligned it with the steering wheel not straight.
Or
It was one
Or one.
position off of the detachable wheel. So one tie rod was entirely bottomed out. So we had to then move it 1/6 over, and then it worked out much better.
Or something happened when they were rally crossing it. They bent something.
Yeah,
Sent
it really,
sent
once
it
we-
a little too much.
Once we put it back to 1/6 over, it lined up much better. So
I put in the cool box mount,
You're
Mhm.
correct. Yep.
which took a little while because the floor's uneven and it's on the little
Mhm.
piece of wood.
And Chrissy did all of the fish mouthing, including some of the janky-ish. Yes.
Some
And
cleaning.
a lot of metal cutting and
Mhm.
yeah.
Prepping.
So here's what I think we have left. These are just the totally doable list, but it includes the fire system. We took one out. We never put one back in. By the way, Chrissy, you want to talk about the Halon fire system?
No, you do. I
So
googled
we had-
it because
we had a really old Halon bottle, And I said, Chrissy, you're a safety professional. It says we can just pop this thing in the front yard. She's like, nope, not doing it. Not doing it.
Halon
Not
has
doing
been
it.
banned for use in the United States.
Yeah, well,
I mean, sure.
sure. I
That's
guess
why
the
we wanted
United
to get
States
rid of it.
doesn't include the back of my trailer because it slipped out of a box and not launched itself, but
This is after we talked about it.
decided.
Do not clean it with water, and bear in mind if you haven't already cleaned it, that the way halon works is it molecularly displaces oxygen so that fire has no fuel.
I
Well,
walked into it.
It's on the
grabbed it.
sidewalk outside of my house now after
Okay.
it fell out of Jeff's trailer, and it's
I
going to rain
walked
tonight.
into
When
the
the door,
trailer.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, I walked in the
alright.
trailer, picked it up, and threw it under a bush. I said,
Okay.
"Hey, Chrissy, it's done now."
Yeah.
Good point.
I know all of this because would you like to guess what illegal substance was the primary firefighting equipment on my aircraft?
There you go.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So anyway, I did do the wheels. We got to put in the radios. We have some wire cleaning, painting, numbers, theming.
Numbers are
And-
hard, man. Do not
Yeah,
underestimate
we
that.
got all that kind of stuff to do, but that is
Yep.
totally
Paint-
doable.
Paint the cage where we put
Yeah,
new
where we
stuff
put all-
in.
yeah, there's a lot
Put
of
the
new
mirror
metal.
back on. Put padding on the cage.
Yep.
Yeah. Reassemble we could put the cool shirt pump and wiring in.
Yeah, yeah.
You got a month,
Figure out why
man.
the
Get-
wipers don't work.
Yeah,
Wipers
the
don't work at all.
wipers are going to be a big one. We're going to figure that out.
Get
Yep.
on it.
Yeah.
So we got a couple weekends. I'm good.
All right.
All
Yeah,
doable.
but our final alignment specs, I got them here. Rear camber is 2.2 on one side, 2.1 on the other. Front is 2.6 on one side, 2.7 on the other. Front toe 1/16th out, rear toe 1/16th in. I think it's a good baseline to start with on the conservative side, but we'll see how it goes.
So as we're wrapping this up, I'm still hearing from all three of you very upbeat, enjoyable, not just from the fun of, oh, new car, let's play around with it kind of a deal, but it feels like this was a good purchase.
Yeah, without a doubt.
I think so. I think of what is generally available on the market, this is the right mix of good and cheap and janky enough and a good platform and
But
Yeah.
a good start, right?
A
Yeah,
good
we said a
start.
good platform because it had enough stuff done that we can race it this year. It's not a complete new build. So
like
I
it's
think that's
good
gonna be helpful.
suspension on it. It's got the good differential. It's got the right brakes. It's already had a nice splitter on it. Had a nice splitter on it.
The splitter's
Yeah.
still there. It's just not connected as well as it was.
Yep. Things like that. It's a fine place to start, and it's not like we're gonna have to find some problems, and I'm sure we'll creep up, but
Mhm.
it's good. And when eventually the spinning triangles decide they're no longer willing to play, we've got a plan B too. So
Mhm. And I think it's just janky enough that we're not going to be upset to rip it apart. Like it had lived its life as an SCCA racer, and it didn't have. We're not taking a very like when they crashed Betty or put Betty into a Lemons field. It was always like, oh, this car's way nice for this field.
no one's gonna say that about this one.
No one's going to
Nope.
say that about this. This is a battle scorn vehicle that
Yeah.
it's going to the right place. And when we rip out the magic spinning triangles, no one is going to cry. It doesn't have any hot bridge ported, street ported.
No, it's
you
just
know.
a stock S5 motor, from what we understand.
It's probably why it's still running.
Not really.
Yeah. Okay.
So anyway, what about predictions? What do we think it's going to be like, Chris?
I think it
Or
will
Chrissy,
run
obviously.
on and off for about 3/4 of the weekend. That's my guess.
Oh, only the weekend?
I think we're going to have some teething problems. I think we are
Yeah.
going to find some stuff.
Is it
Yeah.
going to be dead at the end of the weekend?
No, I think there are going to be some things that are going to go wrong. We are going to fix them, and that's going to go back out
Mm-hmm.
a few times.
I've owned 4 RX7s. Yes.
Why are we just hearing this now?
And I don't know how they'll do it, but I think one of the challenges that the previous owner didn't have to deal with it being a sprint car that we are, and by we, I mean you, will have to deal with is they do generate a lot of heat. And I think it's going to eat its exhaust.
It's got a big radiator. It's got the stock oil cooler, which is big, and
Yeah.
the exhaust has been upgraded to a 3-inch. It's a Racing Beat header into
Oh,
a
okay.
3-inch that
Excellent.
has a
Well-wrapped racing beat header.
Okay. It's got a resonator kind of in the middle, and then a Borla exhaust at the end.
Okay.
So not a janky one.
Yeah. The exhaust gas temperatures that come out of rotaries will they rapidly
Surface
deteriorate.
Of the sun.
Yeah. Those things.
Which is why getting the fuel lines covered that go near it are very important.
That's probably one of the reasons they ran it through the cockpit. This is way safer.
Yeah, except where it came actually through the firewall, it got real close to the header.
It wasn't that far away.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's gonna run and it's gonna be fun and it's gonna eat so much damn gas because it's probably pretty light. If we had to pull a 40-pound weight vest for them to get to the minimum, which we know because it's on the side of the car,
2680.
2680.
That's with the driver.
If it's okay.
Was he a big fella, a normal size fella?
No, normal size fella, yeah.
All right.
Well, we don't know because the guy we were buying it from wasn't the guy.
Let's assume he was 200 pounds max. So now we're at 2480. We pulled 40 pounds out of it. So 2,400 pounds. That's pretty decent. Probably 170 horsepower. This will be okay.
And that's with the fuel cell too. So yeah.
You could put the 40 back in.
Well, we don't know how much they ran in the cell. We are obviously going to run all of it.
It's a 22-gallon cell, fortunately. So let's see how good. But we don't know what kind of pickup it has in it. Like it's got the swirl pot. It's got the Holly Blue, old school Holly Blue low pressure pump. But it might just still have the standard, circle track duck foot pickup in the bottom. Then who knows what that's going to do.
Nice.
We'll see.
Right.
And we know there's going to be development, but I think it's going to be fun.
Oh, they are so much fun.
I think we might have magic spinning triangles longer than we expect. 2-3 races.
Cool.
Not 2-3 minutes. 2-3 laps.
Hey, and if you're coming to New Jersey, just randomly popped up in my YouTube while I was doing some of the work the other day was Chrissy and I at Thompson back when I had short hair. And we were fixing a dent in the Civic for like the 9th time. We had the porta power out. Chrissy, you had gotten hit while being a passenger while Chris was driving around.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
And it was just stop hitting the Civic.
It was right when you exited the pits, right?
We were going down the street at 100
at a good clip.
They were coming into
went right into the side of us.
I get it. It's a black car and it's kind of hard to see, but it's loud. Don't hit Nacho. Just don't hit Nacho.
Oh, don't.
Yeah, don't hit the Driftos. Doritos, Driftos.
Don't hit Nacho.
Maybe
or,
Nachos.
Or more importantly, the Mazda, the white one.
The white one, yeah.
Chris, you'll get more mad.
I have to I want to recall a part of the weekend that made me laugh so hard I was falling over. When Jeff was moving and backing up. This is the Brap video. You will notice if you happen to notice that he's very low, like his face comes up to like eye level at the door, and he didn't have a chair. He didn't have a seat. I tried to give him a Tidy Cat plastic container so he could sit on that, but that was too tall, so he couldn't get in the car. So he decided to sit on the ground. I just told him this is what you have to deal with. So it made me recall the time in the Solstice when we used to have our old Solstice one that we had the WAP. And the seat is very low, and that's how I felt, is that you couldn't see anything. So fortunately, he didn't have to see anything because all he was moving himself.
Like Grandma Moses driving thing.
Yep. Fortunately, you didn't have to go very far, just move from one side to the other, but I thought that was very funny.
Video on our Instagram.
Hear the Brap.
Hear the Brap. Embrace the Brap.
But that's why he looks so small in the car, because there's no seat. So yep.
So much Brap.
So much.
So much.
Cool.
Cool.
All right. What else do we have to say?
It was a good weekend.
How
good
bad can
weekend.
it be?
How
There we
bad
go.
can it be?
I think it's
don't say that.
We haven't properly introduced the next section in a while. I think it's time for us to do this.
Joe!
Just Yep.
Yay. Oh, it's like old times. All right, we're going to talk about a video that was on the internet. I know I saw it on Facebook, but there is a lovely lady that I follow, or a couple of us follow, professional drifter Colette Davis, shared a terrifying video of her drift Corvette catch fire on track. And here's some of the things she had to say, and we're going to jump around a little bit. She had a couple of things that she learned a lot from this situation, and hopes that they push off it pushes off some of you to understand why some things are so important for your build. Fire is no joke. They believe a fuel line came loose from the rail and that may have been leaking for some time. She shares four really good lessons about safety equipment and complacency. Again, here's what Colette says. So number one, she didn't have a fire suit on, and luckily was wearing some OMP racing gloves, which saved her hands. Drifting as a whole is very relaxed when it comes to safety gear, and oftentimes the debate is heat exhaustion or fire safety. I've learned my lesson here. We'll be adding a cooling system. Is that what she said?
Yeah, she's talking about putting in a cool shirt because she needs to start wearing a fire suit.
So there's times when we've been on track and haven't worn what is required. So at a recent track day, some folks were eyeballing our pantless Matt for his fire suit in the car. So number two, she said, I should have turned off the car faster, but I was too focused on trying to get the extinguisher ready. So this is a really good reminder to make sure that you are practicing your emergency procedures. Can you find your kill switch with your eyes closed? Engines run on gasoline, and in the event of fire, you should absolutely stop feeding it gasoline. Number three, she couldn't break the plastic tie on the fire extinguisher, which delayed from her being able to use the one that was in the car. In this video, it's pretty crazy. She tries to pick up the fire extinguisher that's actually in the car. She can't get it
front bolted
like a
by the front
handheld
seat.
one.
The
in front of
handheld
the
one in
passenger seat.
front of the passenger seat, tries very hard, stays in the car way too long trying to get it undone, and then jumps out of the car probably with one hand because she has a fire extinguisher in her hand, and she is still trying to get this out of her, still trying to undo it. So crazy. First off, don't do that. Making sure that then there's somebody comes over and takes the fire extinguisher from her and puts it out on, puts the fire out with that. Making sure that, so this is for a note for us. How about, do you know where the flag stations are? Obviously you really should be looking at them all the time. But do you know where the fire extinguishers are? Some of our tracks, if not most of them, have the fire,
like the red markings on
red or
the
orange on the
Armco.
Armco. Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
I think every fire station has at least a small one, but the
every flag station
the orange the orange marks at the gaps in the wall have apparently more. At least at pit race they were telling us about that.
Right. So that's why we knew about it. But yeah, of course, if something like this happens, stop immediately. But if you can be closer to a flag station, they're actually going to be able to help you. And lastly, she didn't have a fire suppression system in the car. She's going to install one. It's not required for the series that she competes in, but she would have, it wouldn't have stopped the fire completely, but it absolutely would have helped. But I think it's mandatory in just about all of our series now. And if it's not, get one. It's absolutely worth it. Make sure you pull the pin, make sure you know where the pull is near the driver's seat, and there should be one that's outside, reachable from outside the car, I believe. Correct.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And I think that's in all
done
series.
correctly.
Yeah.
And if you have multiple cars, try to be consistent about it. So no matter which car you're in,
that would be great. Yes. So really make sure that you have that all set up, and don't cheap out on it, and really think about where you put those the nozzles to be able to make sure you're actually putting the fire out where the fire might be coming from. So it's in the front and near your fuel system, making sure that they're all good. But this
one pointed at the driver.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Yes, I was saying stop the fire, but also being putting it at you. Fire's bad. Go check out this video. It's Colette Davis. And she is, I think she's fine. She got out of the car. She's going to compete again, I'm sure. But unfortunately, she just started, I think this is her first or second time out with this car that she just rebuilt. So really unfortunate to see that car pretty burn up. Not sure what's going to happen with it, but we always want to learn from situations that have fire, that have anything that it deals with a car, somebody racing, and fire happens. So listen up, make it happen.
Fire's bad, kids. Don't burn.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm surprised to see that they're like, this is normal for them. They're out running in, an active motorsports event with multiple cars with a lot of contact that happens. And, she's wearing Chuck Taylors and
yoga pants.
flexi capris and no fire system. And that's what they
Okay.
do.
That's okay. A helmet with a GoPro on it. So that's how we get to see the video up close and personal and learn from her. Don't try to take your fire extinguisher out of the car to go put your own fire out.
Yeah, it's surprising that there is that much cage required, but not a fire suit. You know what I mean?
It's a maturing form of motorsports, and a lot of safety rules are typically reactionary.
Yeah.
Our chosen sport, we've been very lucky because as we're coming at this from an amateur, they can look ahead and start looking at speeds and lap times and go, this is about the time when this professional series started having these issues. We're going to institute this piece of mandatory safety equipment. So, but you and I were talking about the donk drag races last year.
Oh yeah.
They're like, oh crap, we're going really fast. If we're not careful, we're going to die. Let's start doing something smart.
Yeah.
So,
That
so
was
I'm not
NJMP.
gonna bag on drifters. Again, they are developing their competition, and I think most of them want the sport to stay safe.
Yeah, that video definitely made me say, like, why were we ever with a handheld bottle?
Yeah.
A handheld fire bottle is not going to do anything to save you.
I think that's only to guarantee that there are that
is
many
a
fire
bottle.
bottles in the paddock, so that even if your car is not on fire, if your people next to you, there's at least guarantees everyone has a bottle somewhere.
That's true. I could pull over and help somebody else,
Sure.
but that bottle wasn't going to help me put out my car.
I feel like, I
Yeah.
guess, but I'd rather have one on the side of the road by the time I unplug mine in my car, run over to the other car, figure out how to take my gloves off. Like what? I'm not going to be able to do that very quickly. I'd rather have the guy outside already.
Mhm. That's why we have fire systems in our
I
cars.
know, but
Yeah. And again, this is no shot on Colette Davis.
oh no,
This is what
No,
we're
no.
talking about is the sport of drifting. Is she D1?
I don't.
I think she's
D1
both.
and then Formula Drift is the other the two big.
I think she
it's
runs, and then
D1.
she does grid life as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, drifting. Get to it. Fire systems are not expensive.
and actually, if y'all get
Cars
into
are.
it, they'll get even cheaper.
Yeah.
Which is the advantage of us having to use them. So now you guys can work that.
That was a hell of a built car. That was many tens of thousands of dollars of building.
and
Hours and
thousands of hours.
Hours and
Protect it with a
hours.
$400 fire system. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, so that horse
There you
dead.
go.
Moving
Done.
on.
Gone.
Do
Next
it.
show promo. What are we doing next week?
I don't know. Figure it out.
Yeah.
Do.
Oh, yeah. It's a podcast.
It'll be
we've done this
decent.
like 250 times. How hard can it be?
Not that many times, but almost.
240.
Almost.
Whatever.
4.
So
Whatever.
Yep.
I will wrap it up this way by saying thank you for downloading us. We hope you enjoyed this week's edition of Everyone Racers. We also hope you'll join us in the world of driving, racing, and building because everyone can be a racer, even you. If you enjoyed this podcast, subscribe. It's totally free. Then go to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. If you're watching on the YouTube, hit us up in the doodly-doo right down there. We'll talk all about what you say. If you have any questions or show ideas, drop a comment on our Facebook page, Everyone Racers, or email us at everyone.racers@gmail.com. You can still text us, 484-243-0455. Find us on Instagram or Twitter at everyone.racers, YouTube, Facebook. We're everywhere. We're even on Reddit/E1R. Thanks
Whoa.
again,
Does
and
anyone
until... I don't know. Thanks again, and until next week, keep the shiny side up. Unless it's all shiny because you're some Formula Drifter, then just keep that fire bottle close.